Super Smoke Bros, here we go. Once again, I'm Chris Zablocki, otherwise known as Z, and we have right here
Yago
and Sheehan.
And it's been what are the high school kids, a minute since we life catches up during holidays and things like that. But we're back. We had some experience. Did a lot of finding up the smokers since the last time we talked to you. So let's start off, Yago. Kind of give us an update of what you smoked and maybe it's good, bad that went with it.
Yeah, so over Christmas break, I was tasked with cooking brisket. That was the first time ever doing it, and I had to do it for about 35 people. But went good. Took a lot of tips from Z, but got a big old brisket from the Costco. Great price. Ordered some of that Wagyu beef tallow. Injected that up, had a nice rub on it. But I would say what went well was the flavor, the end result. That tallow made a huge difference. What was kind of tough is I put it on about 7 o'clock at night. We're serving dinner 3 the next day. It jumped temperatures super fast on the pit boss, so I was worried it was cooking quick, but it stayed at 160 for almost 3.5 hours. So that was a little nerve-wracking, but we all turned out good. So fired up, ready to do another one.
Yeah, I love it. So can you tell us, Yago, a little bit about, I know Sheehan, you used it too as well. I have Wagyu tallow. What is it?
Oh, man, it's a little scary. You open it up and it looks like Crisco from the old days of Mom making cookies. But no, it's good. You melt it down, get a little injector. I did not take Z's advice and put a little apron on. It finds its way through the meat and finds openings out of something, and it's sprayed everywhere. And then what does it do? It goes from liquid to a solid. It just hardens up. So it was kind of a mess, but worth it.
Sheehan, what's your experience? You use the tallow as well.
Yeah, I use the tallow pretty much almost any time I have any beef on there. And yeah, it just adds another layer of flavor, another layer of moisture. Makes it a lot harder to screw things up and dry meat out. So like with the brisket, I know a lot of people will have dry briskets, and briskets are tricky. But if you put the tallow in and you put a lot of it in, it kind of makes it idiot-proof because we're all idiots, right?
Yes,
so
we are.
It helps, and definitely helps it taste much better. Fat is flavor.
Yeah, definitely. I saw it. I tried it for a brisket on the first time a while back. I saw it on a YouTube video or something, but it makes it foolproof, as you said, Colin. It's really does. But now I use it on everything. I use it when I sear steaks on a cast iron skillet. Doesn't matter if I have it. I use it on beef, and this enhances that flavor. So, Colin, going over to you, what have you smoked lately? Good, bad?
The last thing I've done, last 2 things I've done. One was an over-the-top chili, which was phenomenal. A lot different flavor profile than I'm used to. I like spicy chili. And this wasn't spicy. It was sweet. It had a little bit of a kick. The first time I made it, it was really, really sweet. So I added some more chili powder to it the second time, and it was outstanding the second time. The other thing I've done is a whole chicken, which I do quite a bit. That's really, really good. My wife likes to take it for lunches, put it in salads, quesadillas, stuff like that. With my smoker, which we'll get into a little bit later, with chicken, you want to smoke it a little bit hotter, so the skin doesn't get as rubbery or anything like that. So I wanted at least 300 degrees. It's hard to do that with my smoker when it's cold outside. So that was definitely a barrier. Something that didn't go as well, but we got it. It was still great.
Now, Colin, do you use any tricks to help with that skin to make it more crispy?
Like I said, smoking it at a higher temperature, and then if you need to, if it's with chicken wings, I put them on the grill. Put the grill up super high, my gas grill. Put that up really high and just sear them for 2 minutes on the side. Or if you need to, if it's cold outside and you want to crisp that skin up, you can finish it after it's got a few hours of smoke. You can finish it in the oven and put it a little hotter, 350 degrees or so, or broil it or whatever you need to kind of crisp it up a little bit.
Yeah, that's our plan here is just we're novices at this, but with this, these little tricks that we find that we research or just try or make a mistake and it works out well. Just trying to throw those in there for you a little bit. Let's see. Well, my Lions have been doing great, so I've been firing up the smoker. I had to throw that in there, my Detroit Lions here. But so if the Lions are playing in the playoffs, I'm firing the smoker up. And so yesterday, I did smoked mac and cheese. Turned out well. Brought some leftovers here for the teachers. A week before that, did some queso. Turned out great. Did a brisket using the Wagyu tallow injections. And I even I don't know about you guys, but when I use the tallow as a binder too. So I rubbed the whole brisket on there and then put all my seasoning in that tallow just to give it that extra. And I tell you, I messed a few briskets up in my time. I first started, and until I used that tallow, I haven't messed it up yet. So hopefully, fingers crossed. But I'll talk about I did mac and cheese. I tried something different, and I had an aluminum pan, and I put a pint of heavy whipping cream in it, along with 3 cups of milk, and then I just dumped the noodles out of the box right in there. Added my cheeses. I used a sharp cheddar cheese, used a Monterey Jack cheese, Gouda cheese. I used a melty cheese, it's called quesadilla melty cheese with it, and then I also used some Asiago and Parmesan in there too as well. Give it a little bite to it. And then big thing what I found out with mac and cheese is you got to use your the rubs I use for different things. So I use my chicken. The rub I use for chicken, which is Suckle Busters, Clucker Dust, it's called, and I use that, sprinkled that in there, and just gave it a great flavor. Turned out well. That I'm telling you, if you haven't used heavy whipping cream to make the noodles, it's game changer. Just such a silky smooth texture to those noodles. So that was my latest few expeditions. I'm sure I have some other ones in there I forgot because it seems like I'm always firing up that smoker. But we're just gonna for our second episode too. We're getting some things in the works here, but we just want to we introduced what type of smokers we had, but we're gonna start, and like I started, my first smoking experience was a pellet smoker. And I've learned a lot. We listened to some podcasts. The Stall, if you want to listen to a good podcast, was super duper. This explains all these things and do a great job of it. The Stall is a good one, but just learned about you often say it's the easy bake oven of smokers, but I learned a lot to change it up. But another fellow pellet smoker here, Yago, is going to go ahead and talk a little bit about his pellet smokers, good, bad, things that went well, learned, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, so Chris kind of got me into smoking and suggested I start with the pellet smoker. So I have the Pit Boss Lexington. I got it, I want to say, had it for over a year. Not a huge cook space, but it does have a second rack to it. I've experimented with lots of different pellets. We got a lot of Farm and Fleet Farm by me, so I tried some of those lower end ones, which aren't as great. The Pit Boss brand is pretty good, but I recently got Bear Mountain pellets. We're not affiliated in any of these yet, but I have noticed that I had zero issues keeping temperature. And that has been a struggle for me. I'd say things that I'm working on, because rain or shine or snow or sleet or ice, we're out there running them. So the welding blanket has been huge. I got a cheap one off of Amazon to kind of keep temp, but I actually took it off for a while doing the brisket, and I was keeping temp, and it was 16 degrees outside. So the brand of pellets matters. So that's one big thing that I've really learned. And also keeping it clean. I've taken it apart, I think 4 times and did a pretty thorough cleaning. And that has been kind of a game changer, but the easy bake oven is true. I mean, I've done 3 night cooks, go to bed. I got a big old wooden deck, and I did not sleep well that first night thinking that baby's going to burn down, but, it's great. You get your Bluetooth temp. I got a ThermPro Bluetooth sensor temp, and that's huge too. And you just go. And I think that's the big thing for me getting into smoking is just kind of you're learning what goes well, temperatures, doneness, things of that nature. And then it's just so easy to experiment. I can't wait to do over-the-top chili and different things that these guys are doing. So as the definite novice in this group, it has brought me up to speed quickly in the smoking business.
I think you made a good point. I'm also a fellow pellet smoker, besides other ones I have too as well. But that's how I started off. And I also use a charcoal, Royal Oak charcoal pellets too as well. But Bear Mountain, you just get a cleaner burn. And like I said, we mentioned the stall before. They really talk about how pellets are made, and there is a difference between the brands and the types of woods they use, and the compact wood and everything inside of it. So definitely check that out, just if you want to learn more about that. But I also recently for Christmas, my wife bought me a Pit Boss attachment for me. I have a Lexington, but I have an older one, and it's actually larger than Yago's, and it has an attachment for like a smokestack or another box. And so I actually added 700 square inches to my smoker on the box, and I only used it once. And I could probably do a whole episode on that, just the temperature variations, because it's not as hot as that main chamber, loses about 25 to 40 degrees. And so you set the planet. So if you're doing some kind of meat, you could do like a queso on the other one and stuff, or sometimes you want to slow smoke some things such as cheese and stuff like that. And it all works out. I should say cold smoke, not slow smoke. It all works out that way. But I found we're all busy, and Traeger, when he invented that pellet smoker, man, it just, for guys like us that are busy with children running around everywhere, it's just so friendly that way, where you can sit, forget it, and leave, and you don't have to worry about anything.
You have the Bluetooth temp sensor.
Yeah. And definitely, I vacuum mine out every single time. So that's what Yago was talking about, cleaning it out. The one thing with that pellet smoker is you will get a lot of ash in the bottom. So you got to take it out, and vacuum it out. I do it. You don't have to do it every single time. I do it every single time because I've had that mistake where I didn't clean it out, and all of a sudden it got too much ash and it just shut down. And then I lost the meat because I was gone when it happened.
And I was going to interject real quick too. And that the one thing I did notice is there's one time when I used the real cheap pellets that it kind of got bound up in the auger, and I actually had to take the whole thing apart, which is unfun. Part of that was I waited too long to clean it, but I also think part of that is there might be a little higher moisture content in some of those cheaper pellets. That's just a guess, but it matters, and that was not fun taking the auger apart. That was an hour. No. The one nice thing about that pellet smoker though is that you can do self-maintenance on it. You can, like, when something breaks, it's not too. Pit Boss has been great customer service. They'll send you the parts, and it's pretty foolproof. You just gotta, just follow the steps that they send you to the fix. So that is a nice thing too as well. We'll move on over to Colin and a type of smoker that he uses quite frequently.
Yeah, it's different. I don't have a pellet smoker. One day I would like to get one just for the convenience of it, but I have a Weber Smoky Mountain. So it's a big vertical barrel. And at the bottom of it, it's charcoal, just like a charcoal grill, the same type. And then a water basin above the charcoal, which helps with the temperature control. And then like a grill grate on the top where you put whatever you're smoking. So to start it up, you actually have to use one of those like cylinders that you'll see people start gas grills with, where you put the charcoal in, lighter fluid in, get the coals lit, then put some coals into the bottom of the barrel. Then put wood chunks of whatever type of wood I'm using. So I like apple wood, cherry wood, hickory are probably the three that I use the most. Put wood chunks on it. So then that's where that smoky flavor comes from, is those pieces of wood start to burn in there. And then the water basin goes on top. So you get a whole bunch of steam coming up too, which helps the temperature. So yeah, it is not something I can really sit and forget. There's 3 vents on the bottom and 1 vent on the top. And I have to open and close those to raise or lower the temperature. So when I'm first firing it up, I have all the vents completely open to get as much air in as I can. As we know, fire needs oxygen. So I have the vents open as high as they can go, and then once it gets up to temperature, I usually have them about half closed and then have to adjust it from there. So I usually have to check them at first. When I first put something on, I'll check it every 10 minutes. And then if I get a steady, consistent temperature, then I'll check it every half hour or so just to make sure it's staying. But as the coals start to go and as we start to lose coals, I have to open the grates up more and more to make sure that it's staying at temperature. Which can be tricky and it can be hard. I can't do an overnight thing quite as easily. I did one brisket on it, and I had to get up at 3 a.m. to do it, which it was great, but I'm not going to do that again.
I was sleeping.
Yeah,
you were sleeping.
You guys were sleeping with your briskets on your smokers.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a pain, but is what it is. I really like the charcoal flavor that you get from it. You get a little bit more. I think with the wood chunks, you get more of a heavier, smoky flavor, which not everybody likes. But luckily, I like it. My wife likes it. Otherwise, we'll probably have to figure something else out. But the charcoal and that heavy smoke flavor really it's kind of an aggressive smokiness. But it's great.
Now that brings me a good point, Colin, and that's what kind of a downfall of people with the pellet smoker is that you don't get that heavier, that more charcoal flavor. So one thing you can do, which I have started to experiment with, because one of the things I like on whether it's my brisket or my pork butt is bark. I love bark on a good meat, and so it's harder to do on a pellet smoker. And so what I have been experimenting with is either a smoke tube or a little smoke box that you put in. You put your own wood chunks in there, put it inside the chamber of the pellet smoker, and now it's getting that extra smoke that and from what I have tasted, because I definitely, when Colin, you bring stuff in to try, I definitely get a heavier smoke flavor from Colin's things that he throws on the smoker, just based on different fuel sources. And so it comes very close to that smoky flavor that I get from Colin when he brings it in, compared to what I'm used to on that. So if that's something, you buy one of those little metal tin boxes for $7 from Menards or whatever. Buy some. I put applewood chips in, and the trick is don't put too much. You don't want too much smoke, so then you just ruin that meat. And so you may mess up once in a while, but that's just another way. If you have a pellet smoker, to add get a better bark and that little more heavier smoke flavor. Another type of pit barbecue that I use is I made an old school cinder block pit. Now, in Upper Michigan at our cabin, our cabin collapsed because it's just old. And so we took the cinder blocks and made a pit with it, and we did a whole hog on it. The old school, we had a burn barrel where you drill holes and you put rebar through it and you drop the wood in there, start on fire, and then then you naturally are making coals, and you shovel in the coals underneath it. So we did do that. That was definitely a new adventure. I tended that pit for 9 hours straight, just not stopping. People are helping me and stuff like that. But you got really first time doing it, and that's not the insulation as you have with the smoker. So the fluctuation of temperature was crazy. But if you ever check those videos out where you see the burn barrel and the coals falling and shoveling in, that's what I was doing. I figured, why not?
Stay hydrated during that?
Yes, I did stay very hydrated during that.
9-hour shift.
Yeah, most people do worry about me. So, but no, I had some good friends and fellow coaches with me and family members. So we got to, but definitely my recommendation is if you see something, research it and just try it. I bought books on different whole hog experts and read them and tried it, and it turned out great. Surprisingly, turned out great. But I just try it, go for it. The worst thing you can do is screw it up, and I know sometimes it costs a lot of money, but just go after it. So that's another one. In 2 weeks, we have a new smoker up at our cabin, and it's called Big Mama. I got from a teacher here that we work with. It's 6 feet long. It's a beast. It's heavy. It's on wheels. And I never used it before, but we're going to fire that up. So I'm sure in one of these episodes, I'll talk about that and the experience going on with that. But we're going to kind of wrap things up here. I was thinking about this, gentleman, and, maybe could you give some advice as what's one thing that you wish you had that maybe you got a little bit later in your smoking careers that you wish you would have had right away? So those people that are just starting off, you should pick this up. Colin, do you want to start?
Yeah, I can answer that. I actually have I tried to make poor man's burnt ends early on in my smoking experience. And I followed a YouTube video that I found, and it just went off of time. It didn't go off of temperature. And he was using a different smoker than I was, but it was it should be about the same if you keep it the same temperature, right? No, my burnt ends were awful. The fat didn't render down. So a digital Bluetooth thermometer is a must. Make sure the temperatures have to be perfect. So I have the meter. I know there's a bunch of different brands out there that work. that is a must-have for anybody smoking.
Well, I think Colin took both of ours, but go ahead. Yago.
Actually, got the answer first.
Yeah, I know. That was
I'm
nice.
going to jump off of that and say that I do have that, but one thing I didn't have, and when I was doing the brisket, because I only have 2 probes, a handheld as well, because especially the big piece of meat, I found that when I was doing the brisket, you get down into that point versus that flat. I had like almost 15-degree temperature changes where I had to kind of adjust it, move things. When you're working with a big piece of meat, I would actually have a handheld one too. I just went on Amazon, sticking with ThermPro. I think it was like $12. But very accurate, instant, which is nice. You can kind of, you don't want to lose too much heat. But I think that should be added to the arsenal as well. And that's just something you could use in the kitchen too.
Yeah, that's definitely thermometers are huge. And the pen thermometer, as Yago was talking about, that's good to have. I like the meter because you can do the temperature of the chamber, right? And the meat on yours.
Yep.
I don't have that. I really like to get that.
So it'll take the temperature of the chamber, the temperature of your meat, and then your target temperature that you want, and it'll give an estimate of how much time is left on the meat, which is really convenient.
Yeah, it's interesting, especially on the Pit Boss, because you have a analog dial on the lid, which the probe for that is right underneath the lid, so the upper half, and then you have a digital temp that I believe, Chris, sits a little deeper.
It's deeper, closer to that pot.
To the pot. And that's always like, you look, it's like, oh, I got 250 down here, but I got like 240 up here. That's something you just gotta watch. And to go off of what Colin was saying before, the other thing too with I'm assuming most pellet grills, is that drip shield that's underneath the grate. At least the Pit Bosses have openings in those. So you can slide that back and forth. And if you're really looking for a lot of smoke, and I think lower temperature, you want to have all those pretty much closed. Right,
all those closed. You can get a better smoke. You'll get a better more consistent of a temperature. Mm-hmm. And with the Pit Boss too, why they have that sear, I call it a sear box. I could be wrong. But instead of firing the gas grill up, if I want a little more wood flavor, a little smoky flavor to it, I just cook everything right on that. And I just open it up and the flames come up and it works well. So kind of all that depends on what type of flavor. Another thing that I really think is you need a good knife, a really good knife.
I don't have a good knife.
It makes a world of difference. That was one of the things I didn't get right away. And once I got a good sharp knife, I'm like, oh, holy cow, this is so much easier in life. So I also actually got one of those tumbler knife sharpeners, almost fell here, sharpeners too as well. And that's been huge. So I sharpened all the knives and
what kind of knives do you have?
I have what's it called? It's one of those big long ones. Starts with an M. I can't say it's Japanese name. And I have Hirimoto knives too as well. That my wife. That's my wife's. I just sharpen them because she had them for a long time before because she does a lot of cooking. And so that, and one last thing I really highly recommend is you can buy them. They look like look like a cookie sheet pan, but there's a little rack that goes inside of them. And to put your meat on those, and it's so much easier to take your meat on and off of a smoker when you have one of those racks. And then you just take it and put it down right in that cookie sheet, and then you can carry it in easier. And so I always found that was a game changer. I had that for about a year or so. And I always seen them on the videos I watch and research. I'm like, I'm going to get one. So I did. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I know what they use them now, So that one. And if you have the chance, my last one, I had a few of these.
I got another one too.
Good. Is that one of those cutting boards that have the foldable sides that go up like an accordion. And then you put your meat in there to season your meat and keeps all the seasonings right in there. And then it also has a plug that you can take it like if you want to soak anything in it or you can drain it and stuff like that too. That was a huge help. I broke mine. I don't think I had the most expensive one, though. I should have got better, I guess. But that was
teachers, man.
I know we're teachers, yeah. But that helped with mess too. That was really because I'm very liberal on the amount of seasoning I put on. So, Yago, you another one?
No, and this is a recent one that it's funny that you bringing this up because I smoked that brisket, and that was actually my family Christmas was after Christmas, and a gift I got from my brother-in-law and sister-in-law was these giant silicone gloves.
Oh yeah.
And they talked to me that they use them all the time, and I was like, man, when am I going to use these? But then I was like, taking the brisket off because I did a good job, man. When you lift it up, it's got a lot of movement in it, and I was afraid it was going to separate. So just to grab that, move it around, get it off. I even held a hand on because I cut it up right away just to have that on there. But those are also kind of I think a necessity, especially if you're handling big chunks of meat.
Yeah, definitely. That's where that cookie sheet rack helps a lot with that brisket to get that off. But also, if you buy, I use the black rubber gloves, and those come with other gloves you put on first and then put them over, and that helps too. But I have those silicone gloves too. Silicone gloves, those are phenomenal. Yeah. So I think this wraps up episode number 2. We'll keep on rocking. Hopefully we keep this going and keep it. First couple episodes will be posted here shortly, and we'll get rock and rolling. But
what do we do next?
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, we got some ideas.
Get some ideas. I really want to do the queso one and have our students, have a taste test with
I think we need to establish this.
Might need some help from you
people
guys
out there listening. The 4 people that are listening to this need to know what we're going to do next.
Yeah, my buddy has a podcast. He's like the tens of fans we have. But that's okay. We're just here, some guys having a good time. Sharing our knowledge. So with that being said, be ready for our next one, and hopefully we have a little, definitely a little competition. Maybe that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
competition.
Good.
And like always, my friend, smoke on.
Smoke on.
Got it. Smoke on.